Hey guys, this is Tom Box, and welcome to MST.TV. I have a very special guest with us here today who's joining us on bringing a realistic discussion about Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Please bring a warm welcome, a round of applause, a bunch of thumbs up to Paul from TeamAPS, the legend of skits.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
No, man, I'm really glad you decided to join in on this because you and we have a lot to talk about Master Duel.
Yeah, Master Duel it's interesting. There's a lot that's just going on with this game, honestly.
Now, this discussion might not be the most happy discussion for a lot of you guys out there, especially those of you who have like dream levels of expectations, but we're gonna try to ground you a little. And because as for myself, I've been in the games industry for maybe 8 years, especially from mobile to PC. There's a lot of things that goes behind the scenes that I can see how a game would succeed and how it would fail, and I'm bringing that perspective into this discussion here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as for me, I'm somebody who, bit of a background in marketing, a background in event planning. I really do think like there's more to this game, I would say, than, it might just appear at first glance. And there's certainly stuff that, like I hope to see, and like I have a wish list and stuff, but I do have like a set of other thoughts too, so we'll see where it goes.
So you know what? Let's actually begin this conversation with our initial impression from the trailer.
So honestly, okay, I can just say going into it, I think a lot of us pretty much expected it to be Master Duel. They'd already sort of alluded to the name of the game and all that last year, so that wasn't a shock. But honestly, just looking at the early gameplay, I'm very impressed. I was very pleased to see just like, a real like modern Yu-Gi-Oh game. It took a lot of the production value that Duel Links has, which I've already like I like Duel Links a lot, and then we just get like lots of effects, lots of just graphics. When I saw the 3D fields and just sort of the visualization when things happen, I was very impressed. I thought that it looked really nice. I think it's a coat of paint that sort of brings Yu-Gi-Oh into like the modern era. It doesn't feel, like Legacy of the Duelist and those other games can feel a bit older, but this just looked really nice, and then everything they were promising looked really nice.
And it absolutely fits into like the modern day of I guess digital card games, such as like MTG Arena. We have, I guess, Legend of Runeterra, Pokemon. Like it just fits the bill of what Konami was missing. This is like the one game that they 100% should have had a long time ago. But
it's like they're playing catch up almost, like because these games have all had this, and we've all been like, where is the Yu-Gi-Oh equivalent to this? And now they brought it, and they came in swinging. It looks nice. Like it isn't looking outdated here.
I'm glad they took the time to develop it. I'm glad they didn't rush it to make something like yugioh Pro or like something really like not so high quality. I mean, like yugioh Pro is like super dated. And I'm really glad that this looks like it's made with a proper game engine. It has a proper. I'm glad they animated the physical card, not create like annoying little figurines that kind of pop up. To me, it makes it more like an esport when they do
that. Level of polish too, like, is something that comes with like what you expect from a first-party simulator of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, up to now we've always played with a dueling book or yugioh Pro, and they're fine. They really are, like, because these are things that are largely just a fan-funded thing. Like, of course they can't be perfect, but I told myself if Konami shows this official simulator, it needs to look good. Like, it needs to look modern, and they didn't seem to be like cutting corners with that. They really did put a little bit of time into making this look and run well. Like when they said like it even scales to 4K and like all that, I think that was a nice little touch. Like,
I mean, it's keeping up to date. It's keeping up to date with modern technology and what people would have if they want to stream the game. I think they're keeping this in mind. I'm pretty sure they want to put their game at the top of Twitch's streamables as well. So, and that's you know what, overall impression, I think both of us agree. they definitely delivered a solid impression, and we're looking forward to seeing the further updates.
Very positive.
Absolutely. So in terms of how it will succeed, based off of the I guess little bit that was talked about by their game director there, you know, they're catered to more towards competitive play, and they specifically mentioned TCG OCG. These are little details that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, that distinguishment in like what he was saying was kind of intriguing to me, because it sort of suggests that these are games that are meant to very much like emulate what the TCG in real life and OCG in real life, you know, if you're in like the Asian territories and things, what they're supposed to be like. And I thought that was a good touch, because it implies that we will be having up-to-date sets and like ban lists. It doesn't confirm it, but it does give that implication to me, at least.
We can speculate on that at the very least, like using that as like a little minor hint of evidence.
Yeah, and that's something too that like, I don't like, whenever you think of like something like Legacy of the Duelist, I hardly even know what format to call that. Like, it's just
yeah,
it's just like frozen in time stasis thing that's not updated past a point, and then it uses a ban list from the OCG, I believe, but then like a set list from up to, you know, whatever. It's a bit of a mess, and so it sounds like from the wording he's using here, this is meant to be one-to-one or something like that.
And I think one of the biggest part is having official support for competitive play online. That is something that we do not have at all at the moment.
It's huge.
That is a huge driving force. And what's more, when he mentioned that there will be competition at the World Championship Series level. That support is kind of like, you know, in Duel Links you have the World Championship Series event where you can actually play for like a top spot in the Worlds, where they will fly you to Worlds to play Duel Links. And it seems like they're going to be doing the same thing here based off of what they've said already.
Yeah, and I think that I know like it was maybe kind of a bit of like just exaggerated language, but something very truthful at the start of that trailer was when they said like, you know, keeping up with like the changing times in our world. Like, I like that little bit, because I think it suggests that they are aware not only that like COVID exists and it's kind of making events difficult, but also just that the way that card games competitively are played and consumed has moved to more of a hybrid physical digital sort of thing, and they're aware of that. So it's not just a like, we're just kind of like doing it because we want to. It's like, no, I think that they, in many ways, were feeling the heat almost from, you know, a Hearthstone, MTG Arena, you know, those sorts of things, Runeterra type of games. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh needed this, and it needs to have events and be like a respected way to play the game competitively. So
I think that a lot of their model can actually be pulled from Duel Links in terms of like the event style stuff. Like, maybe on the weekends it can host like, you know, a bunch of little mini locals that can occur, and that would be actually really cool. I'm really curious of how they're gonna handle competitive play, because I'm pretty sure it's not just big events. You have to have, you know, the grand event of all events, but then you also have a bunch of other smaller events for people.
Where's
to
the
play.
Tiered stuff lie?
Yeah,
like,
so that is where I think if they can succeed in that level of competition, that'd be really fun too. But I've got more to talk about when we specifically kind of cater towards the online play. But just remember, there's also another thing. You know, like right now, we're just under the assumption that, you know, the gameplay is completely flawless. We're not gonna, because we don't really have anything to go by for that stuff right now. So everything is just basically off of speculation. But one thing I kind of want to bring to light right now is the sustainability. I'm gonna be real with you guys. Monetization in this game is going to be probably one of the key things that keep this game live. If people don't buy enough of the stuff on here, let's face it, in game dev, you know, to break it down for you guys, a game dev team is not cheap. There's producers, which are probably one of the most expensive producers, programmers, and in terms of programmers, you're not just talking about one programmer. You have a whole team of programmers, and on average, a programmer's salary is 6 figures and up. So Just think about that. If you got a guy working on the server, the guy working on the UI, UX, and basically the front end programmers, and then you have your back end engine programmers, and then you have the guys that deal with animation, and the guys that are bridge between the artists, and then you also have the artists. You have your modelers. All those backgrounds don't come out of nowhere. Someone's modeling them, and someone's drawing these textures for you. You have your UI guy. Typically, a UI team usually only has about like 2 to 3. They usually try to keep it as minimum. 1 being the lead, 2 being the people that do most of the grunt work, and then they also have animators for these guys as well. So cost wise, we're talking like
there's a payroll.
There's a payroll. There's a huge
payroll.
Don't forget the sound guy. The sound guy is super important. You don't want to get the game, but usually sometimes I'm not sure how Konami works in terms of sound, because some companies tend to just hire on the spot for those guys and just do a temp contract, so they're not like always there, and they just put them on like just kind of like how do I put it? Like they call them up whenever they need them. It's basically on call.
Yeah.
And then there's the QA team. QA teams are usually ridiculously large, and you got to pay everyone. And then there's leads, and just okay. Under the assumption of our conversation here today, say it's like $2 million annually, all right, to sustain the whole team. All right.
Yeah, this game what that effectively means is people got to get paid, and the thing is, it's not that like they got to get paid, like they have to, like it's not. So I guess just my sort of take on this is people are maybe under the assumption that this game just ought to be free, as just sort of a gift to the community of people who like Yu-Gi-Oh, that you should be able to like just download this game for free and play as much as you want. And if you want to spend money on like a cute little sort of minion cosmetic thing, then you can. But if not, you can just get all your cards and play. It's not that I'm saying that I want to have to pay a load of money to succeed. I'm saying that there has to be a monetization model in place somewhere, because people, I mean, they got to get paid.
Yeah. And like, let's think about it this way, guys. So a lot of you guys are saying, well, why don't they just take the budget from the money that they make from the TCG and move it over to Master Duel? Well, that's not how companies
work. Yeah, budgets are rarely ever so one-to-one. Yeah.
And say let me give you an example. Say like Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't even know. These are speculative figures, guys. Say Yu-Gi-Oh was making 10 million annually per year. Maybe, I don't know. It could be. It very much could be possible. But say they're making 10 million a year. Are they going to take our speculative 2 million and just dump it over? No, they're not going to, because now they're literally cutting out their profits by about, like 20%. They're not going to cut 20% of their profit out just to fuel a game that is free. That game must be able to sustain itself, or else it will be shut down. It will be, quote unquote, sunsetted, because it was not profitable. It was not maintainable. And like, to some degree, to give you guys an example, like other games I've seen that made money, they were making money, but they did not meet their quarterly goals by the shareholders. They still got canned.
Yeah, and I do feel that I mean, and many companies are like this. I don't want to make this sound as though it's like unique to Konami. This is
the industry.
Like, this is just a kind of an industry thing. But like, you kind of got to be like strict with these games, because if something isn't like making money, or isn't making the amount of money that is demanded, I mean, it won't last for long. Now, something else I think with like, I don't want to just sit here and say, okay, so let them steal all your money from your wallet. That's not what I mean.
They have to do it smart.
Sometimes, yeah, there's got to be a value proposition for the player. I sometimes think that the existing online simulators that we have, that is to say, EDO Pro, Dueling Book, maybe things like Dueling Nexus, I like these services. I understand that they contribute a lot to our community, the ability to just hop in, build decks, play test hands, do combos. It's fantastic. There's tournaments run with those and everything. But I do sometimes almost think that like people might be a bit spoiled.
Spoiled is the word I'm going to go with.
But they might be a bit spoiled by these things.
They are.
You know, we've come to expect everything to just be free, and that it's just pixie dust is kind of running these games, and it, but that isn't true. Like, any game that you play has a monetization model. Some games maybe hide it better than others, or some games just do a better job of giving you enough value that you feel fine with paying the amount. And that means that the game, did well and they were smart about it. But yeah, I think that sometimes people have this idea in their head that it should just be free. And the idea of Konami charging me any single penny is them being co-money and being greedy. And I don't know. I mean,
I think that's just not realistic. That's just not the real world here. Like, one of the key things about them having official support, having tournament support, having competitive, like, I guess having something that truly does matter to the player is where the value is at. Whereas if you go on like Dueling Book, oh, I'm doing really, really good on Dueling Book. Well, I guess it could reflect that you're a decent player in real life, but it really doesn't really amount to something. You can't really be like, oh yeah, I'm super good on Dueling Book. Some people will give you credit for it, some people won't. And like, you can be like, oh, I always win all my duels on EDO Pro. I'm like, yeah, well,
oh my god, we hear that all the time.
Like, I'm so good at EDO Pro. Like, well, that really doesn't really amount to much, because it's just not the same. Like, there's just,
I think having that level of polish, or that certificate of authenticity that will come from performing well in the official first-party supported simulator of Yu-Gi-Oh! That like has Konami hosted competitive events will mean a lot more than, like, I'm on this simulator that's got like a niche of players on it, but like, it's just full of...
So, yeah, like you said, this authenticity and this like basically being recognized, acknowledgement from the first party creator, that has much more hold, especially when maybe like, the top 8 players get shipped to Worlds, or the top 8 player gets to play a tournament to be shipped to Worlds. Like, that is something that you can't say for Dueling Book. You can do super well in Dueling Book, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't account for anything. Something
too that I think that this game that Konami might be sort of like preparing to introduce, or maybe hopefully integrate in some way, is like an official Yu-Gi-Oh! Esports scene. Now, I don't think that's probably jumping the gun a bit, so I want to like kind of dial it back. Just to say that, so because Hearthstone and Runeterra and like MTG Arena kind of being the biggest one, all these things exist and do have competitive scenes and teams that have dedicated players. I think for Yu-Gi-Oh! To finally have an official first-party sim, maybe there could be some degree of like real esports appeal here.
Yeah, Team Liquid, sign me up right now.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, because it could happen. Like, that could be, like people wanting to sponsor players. And, I don't know how Konami might feel about that, because they're always a little bit picky with, like...
That is usually a sensitive subject if we ever talk about
that. That's a prickly one. But I do think that it could the implications could be there. So,
I mean, if enough people stream on Twitch, and they're making a decent living off of playing the game on Twitch, then yeah, it's very much possible. Yeah. Especially if there's the audience for it. It's all about the audience at this point.
And then speaking of the audience, I have to say that I think that this game alone makes Yu-Gi-Oh! A much more viewer watchable sport.
Absolutely.
I've always said that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not a great spectators game. It's a fun game for the players, and it's a fun game for people who understand what's happening. Like when you watch a YCS stream, it's, if you're a competitive player and you're kind of in that world, it can be suspenseful and fun to watch. But I've always felt that like it's not something that I think that a more like passerby viewer can get a lot of like instant kind of hits off of. The way that this game looks just from these trailers, the animation and the higher quality and kind of just the 3D field, it's
the
a little
chaining
bit more
effect.
Yeah, the chaining effect, it's a little bit more watchable. And so I think that for a streamer or for a YouTuber, or like if we were, say, streaming a large esports event, I think that just tuning into the stream from a normal person's perspective looks a little more exciting and looks a little more professional, and it's better looking than other simulators, certainly.
Yeah.
So, there's something to be said there, I think.
I mean, one thing that hit me really strong in the trailer was when someone attacked for game, and literally they added so much impact to it. The thing goes slow-mo, there's giant explosions, everything about winning a game is exciting, and they managed to deliver that level of impact. Emotional attachment is a huge thing when it comes to this stuff, and they managed to deliver on that trailer to me, and that was really cool. And you can tell when when they're just attacking with like other monsters, small little effects, he's not dead yet. You can see the field starting to crack as you're taking more and more damage.
And the amount of like time that probably went into creating that, it sells the game. Something else I don't think a lot of people are mentioning with this game, like, I think people are mentioning it, but I don't think people truly understand how big of a deal it is that this game is on every platform, or will be on every platform.
Yes.
PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, like Switch, Steam, Android, iOS. That's mind-boggling to me, and I'm going to go on the assumption that there's cross-play between these, because God, if there's not, Konami, like, please don't make that mistake. But so if we assume that, and I hope that's a safe assumption to make, this is going to be a game that you can pick up and play in so many ways. Like, for me personally, when I dabbled a bit in the Pokemon TCG, I was playing just the app. I didn't really play with the physical cards. I liked playing it on my iPad. I found it was like the perfect sort of screen size and just set up to be able to see the cards and move. I don't think I'd really like to play it on a phone-sized screen, but I also don't think it's like necessary for it to be played on like a big screen TV in your living room. But the fact of the matter is, with it being on every platform, you can experience this game however you want. You can sit down and play it on your phone. You can play it on your tablet. You can play it on whatever. And that means that if someone's interested in trying out Yu-Gi-Oh!, there is now a go-to game that is available no matter what console or just platform they choose to consume their games on. And it's free to play. So, like, just that level of accessibility, I think, does wonders for Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
Like, that's a lot. That's easy access.
Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense. I absolutely agree with that. I like the accessibility for sure, because like being able to pull it up on your phone, like there's no distinction between whatever console that you are, no PC or PC Master Race or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's no gating of a player based off of what they own. So that's actually really nice. And speaking of, like you said, it being free to play. Now this free to play. Now let's go into the monetization. This is the juicy bit, guys. So first question that comes up is, should we get all the cards available right away or not?
Ooh. I've been going so back and forth on whether or not I think that they'll do this, because here's my two sides. I'll make them quick. The verbiage in this trailer suggests that this game is supposed to simulate the TCG and OCG and like playing those games in a competitive way. Something about that wording leads me to believe that there's a real chance that all of the cards could be available like from the jump and you can just take them and play them. But then everything I know about mobile games and mobile monetization structures and just past Yu-Gi-Oh games says there's just no way I'm so I don't know. What do you think?
So my thoughts are kind of in little two ballparks. Okay, say they do give all the cards right away, but they need to make money off of cards somehow. Either they do it by expansions like World of Warcraft. Every set that comes up, you have to pay again, or else you just don't have access to those cards. And they can really create a demand for those cards, because your game is still going to update with those things in there. So your opponents will have it, but you won't. That will lead you into buying the set yourself and upgrading your account to actually have access to those. In other words, basically on launch, it could have everything up to a certain point, but they can still monetize every single set moving forward. Which means if there was 300,000 players and it cost you $50 to get all the cards, that's you just do the math right there, and there's like at least 1.5 million to be made right there per expansion. It really pays off if they do it like that. But do people actually have that? Is like a pseudo subscription service, because they can still call the game free to play, but it's a pseudo pay for it.
So here's something actually finish your finish.
Yeah, let me finish this out. The other way is that they actually don't give us all the cards and make people accumulate more cards, because if we do it less, because let's face the facts. If they gave us the entire card pool, we're building all of our meta decks right away. And that can actually scare away new players from coming in. Because if you go into, like, say you start like at the bronze tier level and you're doing competitive play at the bronze tier level, and the first thing you play against is a Drytron player or a Tri-Brigade player, that's going to be be very demoralizing, especially for anyone that's just jumping into the game, making it absolutely not very noob friendly, and that could actually prevent people from, you know, it will ruin the user retention, and that is something that they might want to put everyone on a level playing field. Because for the competitive player, oh, I don't have all my cards, but I still like the tournament support, yeah, I'll grind out the cards and get it. Or maybe, yeah, maybe if the card, like the digital cards are cheaper, yeah, I'll fork the money over to get it in some way or form. That's what I'm thinking. Like, there's just so many different ways of like what it means for each approach. It's not just like, oh, I want to make money, you know.
Something that you mentioned is like, you know, grind out the cards. So in that trailer, they say that they call Legacy of the Duelist a character game.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Where it's sort of like, you know, all these story mode duels. Now, historically in these Yu-Gi-Oh video games, there's, I guess, what you could call like an option to grind. Like, you can do the story duels over and over, and you get like tokens or points or whatever. And of course, we know Duel Links has gems. Something about his verbiage, though, kind of suggested that this game won't really have like
a
single player component. Like, there's no like anime character duels or anything. So it would make me wonder then, in a typical mobile game, there's usually a fair amount of stuff you can do on your own time in a single player capacity to get whatever the currency is, but then by spending money, you can just immediately get it. And it makes me think like, well, if there's no single player mode, if like this is basically a game where you only play online against people, then how would they set up the grind in that scenario?
I hope that they actually do something similar to what they do in Duel Links. Like Duel Links, you know how you can still progress your own character, build up your character. You can kind of build up your character level, stuff like that. Stuff like that to me actually matters, whether or not it be a single player game or a multiplayer game or something that's meant to be competitive. Like Duel Links is more or less meant to be competitive. Everyone's trying to compete to get the king of the game status. They're trying to get to the top of their Kaiba cups, trying to get to the top of the WCSs. So everyone's really trying to get to the top of something. So that's always going to be the backbone in terms of competitive play. But there has to be some element of single player play.
I have a question for you. Okay, so let's assume that they give you all of the cards from the start.
All right.
And you just have unlimited access to them. I can build 17 different decks, and I can all have 3, you know, imperms or whatever.
Okay.
I don't have to even like do all that. How else then do they monetize this game? Like, what other ways like do they monetize this game that actually work in your opinion?
That would actually work?
Like, that will get
that
them sufficient
is almost
revenue.
impossible.
Almost impossible.
It's almost impossible. Cosmetics will only get so far because cosmetics do not offer functionality. It's really just a piece of bling. If you're really that hardcore, then it's like, you know, some cosmetics, they require you to spend so much money to the point that it is a piece of bling that you're really flexing at this point. But if like you don't need to earn anything, I'm feeling like, you know how there's like the little emblem monster that you have on the side, your fields, like there's a lot of cosmetic things that they can do that I think is fantastic, like the rescue rabbit and all that stuff. That was, I thought was really, really cool. But that only goes so far because like I was like, if each person just bought like one little thing, how much is it gonna cost? Or if they're strictly planning to use cosmetics to be their key source of monetization, then we're expecting each of those things to be like $20 and up, just so that you can actually have that bling, because otherwise it would feel cheap. And if it's cheap, then if everyone has it, it doesn't feel special. That's the only reason why you want
finding that balance between like exclusive cool minion or pet system or whatever, and like sleeves and field, you want it to be like accessible, but you don't want everyone to have it because it means nothing. I've heard people talk about the idea of like sort of a battle pass or a subscription model of some sort.
Or okay. So that actually kind of gets into the next little part here I want to talk about, which is like your little battle pass thing. What if competitive play is only accessible through like a battle pass system?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that there might be a system where basically
Pokemon does it too, right? To join a tournament, you have to have those tournament tickets.
Yeah. So let's assume then that maybe there's a way that you can just hop into this game free to play, and I guess grind for cards in some capacity, and like you can play online with whatever it is you've grinded for. But maybe when you get the battle pass, is what unlocks access to all cards at unlimited quantities.
Yeah,
like that could be a way of doing it.
Yeah, I actually that's actually really smart, because what if you do want all the cards and you don't want to grind for all the cards? Because Pokemon, they split it into cards that you actually can trade and cards that you earn through the game. The cards you earn through the game are untradeable, whereas cards that you get from the code in the back, which are off for those packs, those ones are actually tradable, and you can trade them to other people as well. So
I think that could be cool. Yeah, like
I mean, a rental system.
Like, now here's a question for you: how much does the subscription cost?
It has been a monthly cost. Let's look at World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
I think looking at a successful game that has people that are willing to fork that much money over, even if it's like 11, say it's like $12, like $11.99, like USD.
Yeah, I was thinking
$11.99 USD to like say I'm gonna use an average number of 300,000, because that's my my initial expectation anyway. I'm pretty sure it will go more. I mean, Duel Links has like about 6 million downloads or 30 million downloads or whatever. Like, say we're at like even just at like 300K, that's like 3 point something million monthly that they're generating, which is which would be among the top of even a lot of the mobile games we see today.
What do you, see, for me, I'm always curious about those types of pricing structures, because it's like, okay, like, I have a bit of a background in like marketing, and there's always this theory about like the way that a product is priced, or if you have tiered things, the way that they're priced is far more calculated than many people know. So like, there's a difference in your mind mentally between a product costing, say, $10 versus $9.99. It's only a penny's difference, but the presentation to the eye has like a mental effect for people. And similarly, I think that when you have a game that, like, the difference between paying $10 a month versus $12 a month even there's a big fall off there. I wonder, what do Yu-Gi-Oh players, how much does a Yu-Gi-Oh player value what the game is offering to a point? Like, because when I thought of a subscription price, I came up with $10.
Really?
I think
we're both kind of in the same range.
I think anything less than $10 would be Konami being oddly generous, given I think the production value that went into this game. I feel like anything less than $10 a month just sounds a bit too. That's just generous. I don't know, but I don't think they can get away with
like them.
But I don't know that they could get away with more than 15. I think 15.
But like $15 is around what? Is around like 4 packs or so, right? It's around 4 packs.
It's the average MMO game subscription.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're going for. But if they somehow turned Yu-Gi-Oh into like a subscription model, basically give you all the cards. You can still grind for your cards, which is great because that allows people to be free to play. But you can also give them like these battle passes to have access to everything, basically a rental system. I think there's just many different ways they can monetize, and these are ways that I would say that are acceptable. Because looking at it, will I pay it? Probably. I'd probably pay that like easily.
I've come to terms with that. I think literally the only system that would be truly a little bit, that will certainly get some ire from players at least, is if you really are having to sit here and purchase premium currency and like open these packs, and the ratios look something closer to real life pack opening. That could get a bit sticky. Because I don't have a problem with, like, okay, let's say there's a premium currency called gems or something, and I can pay $20 for 2,000 gems, and a pack costs 400 gems. So basically, it's a translation of like buying a pack in real life, right? But like, if I'm opening a pack and the pack pull rates are the same as they are in real life, that gets a little gross. Because that really does mean that pulling, say, a Forbidden Droplets out of Rise of the Duelist.
Oh my god, you're really still like spending like a lot of money.
You really are.
That will not fly. That will actually get people to not align with them. Like, the only reason why that works for Pokemon is because Pokemon See, and Pokemon is like still pretty generous too, but like Pokemon is different because Pokemon, whenever you buy a pack in real life,
you get the code.
You get the code to get a pack in the game.
Yeah.
So
I think Konami
that synergizes. I think they should try something like that, but maybe more towards like maybe use it to help them get like tournament, battle passes or whatnot, like tickets to join tournaments and stuff like that.
I also think that they could just be that sort of system could work if they're especially more generous with pull rates. Like let's talk about like I'm going to use Rise of the Duelist as an example. So if it's like gems and you pay 400 gems or whatever to get a Rise of the Duelist pack, I think that like there shouldn't really be any. You should almost be just guaranteed a card of each rarity, like almost in a pack. Like if not guaranteed, have quite generous pull rates where buying I can expect to get a Forbidden Droplets one in every like 8 or 10 packs maybe. Like then that could be like I think that could look a lot more attractive.
For sure. I think it would make sense. And just for like the last little bit of monetization I kind of want to bring into the discussion is like I know a lot of you guys are fans of single cards. What if they actually had single tickets? Where you have to pay to get the single ticket, and then you can basically choose in the pool of singles within there.
I want to say Hearthstone has that. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
Isn't that the dusting? That's their dusting system where you dust a bunch of cards and you can convert 4,000 for a legendary or something like that.
Yeah, I think either having like a conversion system where you can just take whatever's in your card pool and then convert it, or even just like let's say that there is a premium currency, but every single card simply just has a set in-game like value, and you can just so at least you're not playing the gotcha. You can get your triple.
So in other words, you're grinding towards a goal rather than grinding towards a chance.
A promise of a thing, or like a chance of a thing. I think that's not a bad system.
That's not too bad.
I could see it.
All right. Well, we're just gonna try to close out this little segment with just one last little bit here, which is online play. I guess I'm gonna go through this pretty briefly. It needs to have 3 things on online play. Rank play has to be matches only. If you're not matches, singles do not count towards matches, and I think it should be region based. That's my gripe right there. You can VPN to play in a different region. That's your incentive, and you'll probably be playing an OCG list if you go VPN over there.
Right.
There's also free play, which allows you to play single games or matches, and that's just up to how people want to do it. But the matchmaking definitely is going to be blank. It's going to be, I guess free play, you get to choose whether or not you find the person you want to play with. You can play with friends, of course. There's free play with friends. And the one additional thing that I want to kind of throw in there is event mode. Knowing that you have that little pet on the side, immediately my mind jumped to something in the anime series. Duel Masters, Deck Masters.
Yeah.
Deck Master. It feels like they're setting something up for that, but like event mode would be actually quite a fun thing. You know, in Duel Links you get event modes from time to time where you're climbing up the tower or going down the tower, or sometimes you're dueling against doing a raid duel, something like that. I do hope that they have something like that to help people grind for some specific cards.
Yeah, I agree. I think like what I'm interested in is I agree with you. There's got to be like kind of just a ranked mode, and it needs to have matches, of course.
Free play.
Probably there got to be like a free play, a direct mode to just play with your friend. I think that obviously I'm very curious how they're going to be handling the tournaments, the official like just raw TCG, like this is just competitive play tournaments. Like, would that be something that's regional? How long would a tournament last? Like, what would that look like? And also, sort of similar to the events you were mentioning, will they kind of have some alt format or like themed?
Or what if they have a GOAT format?
Yeah, like I mean, GOAT format, and even just sort of like little themed things, events, like stuff to make this game enticing to turn on every week, and like because they got to keep you in. Like they don't just want you to only turn this game on when there's a tournament, and they also don't want you to only turn this game on like just to play with like the one friend. I mean, I think they prefer you to have
daily
engaging options that keep you kind of logging on each day and just playing a few duels. So I mean, that's what I want to see.
I think that's probably what's going to happen, and I do hope they penalize toxic players. that's something.
Yeah,
that is a sensitive area. It's very difficult from place to place, especially when I'm not sure if this game's gonna even have like text chat.
I don't think it needs it. I think it needs pre-done messages is fine, but text chat isn't.
Yeah, I don't think that text chat is. I don't think it's for this game.
Yeah,
we know how gross it can get, and let's be honest here. This is saving some of the people that are gross on the internet. Let's just say that it's actually saving you guys from getting banned from the game and complaining and being a crybaby all about it. But anyways, I think that's as much as detail as we can get into today. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up and hit the subscribe, ding the notification bell. Go check out TeamAPS. Paul, if you guys want to see some amazing skits on Paul's side, anything you want to add, floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, just check out the APS channel if you guys want, and definitely let us know down in the comments. I mean, like, how do you feel critically about Master Duel? What are your like realistic expectations, kind of expectation versus reality sort of thing? Like, where do you land on that? Because that's something there's a lot of discourse going on about it. We obviously have, our set of opinions on it. I want to hear what people think about this. Are we being too harsh? Are we not being harsh enough? Are we cutting Konami too much slack here? I don't know. Like, it's...
Yeah, I mean, some of you guys, if they're going to charge us for cards, we're not going to play. Well, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a huge player base without you, regardless.
Yeah, it's going to be popular regardless. It all just comes down to what they do. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, that's all from me.
All right, if you guys, that's it. Well, I'll see you guys in the next one.